We are joined now by CNN political commentators David Urban and Bakari Sellers. David is a Republican strategist, former Trump campaign advisor, and also a veteran. Bakari is a former Democratic South Carolina state representative. Good to have both of you here. I just wanted to play that because, David, obviously there's a lot to talk about when it comes to this war, but we have lost men and women in this war. They've given their life for this mission, and that's like what we're getting online from the White House. And I'm curious what your take is on that, especially as a veteran.
Yeah, my take is it's bad. Okay, that's my take. It's not hard, right? I don't think
a simple answer.
This is yeah, it's bad. This is gravely serious stuff, like you pointed out, right? We watched the other night. I watched as Caitlin and a bunch of senators sat silently on our network while they had the dignified transfer remains of U.S. servicemen who were killed in action. And that's the type of solemnity this needs to take place. You shouldn't be joking around about this at all. I mean, it's serious business. It's serious no matter who you're killing, right? You're killing bad guys. Okay, well, they're bad guys, but you're still killing individuals and human beings, and I don't think video games are a correct or appropriate kind of venue for that kind of thing. So I'm not a big fan.
Yeah, and so why, David, why do this? Why are they doing this?
I do not know. No one called me to ask me because I would have said bad idea, right?
Yeah.
I would have said bad idea. Look, there's lots of things. If you want to make hoorah, chest thumping videos of Marines hitting the beaches or Rangers rappelling out of Blackhawks or, fighter pilots and carrier pilots, I mean, go for it. You want to fire the troops up, go for it. I'm not quite sure who that's appealing to. Look, maybe they're trying to send it and say, look, it appeals to our troops who are 19 and 20 years old out and doing these missions. Maybe they like it. I don't know. But I'm not the target demographic of that piece of video that you just showed.
Yeah. Bakari, what are your thoughts on this?
I mean, first of all, let me just say I agree with David. And I think that most people who come on this network, regardless of politics, know that David is someone who served admirably and actually served a university in this country who produces some of the best men and women on earth. And so kudos for telling the truth. I think that there is a trust gap here and a trust deficit with the American public and the White House. And this doesn't help that. I don't think that average men and women in the United States trust Pete Hegseth. They don't trust Tulsi Gabbard. They don't trust Marco Rubio. They don't trust Donald Trump. They don't know why we're here. They don't know the off-ramp. They don't know the exit strategy. They don't know why our men and women are dying. They don't know why a school was bombed with 150 young girls when we can just say in the fog of war, things happen. It was our screw up. We apologize and move forward. And so that all these questions that we have that are good questions, Democrats, Republicans, and independents have, this does not help by just just giving this infant type of response to war. We are at war, whether or not we want to like it or not, we're there. And so I think we just need some grownups in the room. And my encouragement would be the White House to call David Urban and say, not just messaging, but explain basic things like what's our end game here? How do we achieve goals and what do we call success?
Yeah, and David, to that point, how would you answer that? Because I do think that those are key questions that some Republicans have too, Democrats have, and is what are we doing? What are obviously they've listed out the military objectives, but what's the end game here, and where do we go from here?
Hey, listen, I think that what Bakari's saying, what other people have talked about, is exactly correct. The administration owes the American people. When we put our most valuable resources on the line, our young men and women, we send them into harm's way, we need to explain to Americans exactly what we're doing and why we're doing it. Listen, I think the cause is noble. I think that the Iranian regime for 50 years has been shouting death to Iran, from killing Bill Burns to blowing up Marines in Beirut to maiming and killing soldiers in Afghanistan with improved IEDs, and exporting terror around the globe. I think there's an explanation for this, right? The administration can come out and full-throatedly say, we cannot allow these people to have a nuclear weapon. There is never a good time to try to take it out. We need to continue to pound them down, and we're going to do so. We're going to go through this target list. We have a list of primary, secondary, and tertiary targets, which we're going to bomb. And when we're done with that, when we're done with mowing the lawn, as is being said, we may consider stopping and we may not. We want to see an Iran that does not possess a nuclear weapon or means to deliver it. And so I think that this administration can say that, stand up and say it proudly and full-throatedly, but they need to do it. They need to be able to do that and say that to people. We don't know when it's going to end. I don't think there is an end date to when this is going to be over, because if the Iranians continue to chant death to America and have nuclear weapons and a means to deliver it, I think the bombing will continue.
Yeah, and the question of too, like, how do you get the enriched uranium out if that is your target? Like, that is a whole nother layer to all of this.
Bakari, and just real quickly, I would just say, I don't want to step on Bakari, but attacking the Gulf states like the Iranians are doing, I think they're making this more of a regional conflict. The people in the UAE and other places, they're being drone attacked every day. They're not going to sit back and continue to accept this, so they're going to get dragged in and continue to pound as well.
Yeah, Bakari, we've talked about the military piece of this, this solemnity around war. There is a political piece to this as well. We are seeing that with gas prices, that Americans, in the 2024 election were very clear. They were very worried about the cost of living and affordability in this country. And we're now seeing gas prices go up and potentially food prices if, we've got the essential fertilizer being impacted by Iran's control of the Strait of Hormuz. How do you see that influencing Americans' take on all of this?
I mean, I think that this was, unfortunately for the Trump administration, was more of a political act than it was a necessary act of defense of this country and our country's needs. And I think that people are seeing through that. And I think that that is the disdain that you're seeing. Not only that, but the stress at the pump. I mean, you'll feel that first before you even get to gas prices. I mean, we just talked about, I believe it was in the last segment, you talked about the fact that gas prices were going up. And you compound that with, these moments of just, solemnness where you have soldiers coming home in caskets. You have one of the most righteous rights that we have in this country. You have then those exposés of young girls dying in bombings. I mean, all of these things go to show that this administration, I'm not sure from a political or a defense perspective, are taking this seriously enough. I think this is more gamesmanship than it should be at this particular time. And let's all be honest. I think the three of us know this, and I hope the American people know this. If the goal is to take Iran's nuclear sector out, right, that has been a noble goal for presidents for a very long period of time. All three of us would agree that Iran does not need to have or deserve to have a nuclear weapon or a ballistic missile just cadre, or the fact that they have a Navy military apparatus that can go out. The problem is that we cannot destroy Iran's nuclear sites without putting boots on the ground. I wish the administration was honest with us about that. I wish they were telling us about the grave toll that would take, but no one is talking about the simple fact that American lives will be lost if that is the goal through war. If we have negotiations, let those play out. We had a peace deal. Donald Trump tore that up. And because he tore that up, there'll be American soldiers that are going to die, and people will still feel that price at the pump.
All right. We could talk more about this, but unfortunately we're out of time. But David and Bakari, it is always...
Real quickly. Yeah, mazel tov to you and Alex on your good news. I just want to say we're looking forward to that baby boy in June.
Thanks, guys. We're really excited. I know, Bakari is a good name. I'm going to add it to my list. Harry Inton also pitched Harry.
Michael Bakari Jordan and Bakari Sellers. You got it. There you go.
Oh, that's nice. A little good news to end on. David and Bakari, that's really kind. Thank you, guys. We'll be right back.